Welcome back to CEO Money. I'm Michael Yorba, your host. Thanks for joining us. I've got Jillian Godsil, Crypto Diva. Jillian, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Thank you very much for having me, Michael.
All right, my pleasure. Tell us about your background. It's extensive, and I've read the paragraph, but I'd rather hear it from you.
Okay, well, I'll go back. Do you want me to go back to the very beginning or just the last 10 years?
The most important part that you want to bring out.
Okay, well, I will say for your listeners that my first job was at JP Morgan in London. I'd graduated from Trinity, so I started off in fintech early on, and I lived in Australia and Singapore. I spent about 10 years abroad and came back to Ireland. And then I settled down. I worked for, I was a PRO for Iona Technologies, Ireland's first software company that floated on NASDAQ, so that was quite a fun company to work for. And then, I just had kids, I was married, we had a big house in the country, and everything was going along beautifully. We were in the middle of the Celtic Tiger. You may recall that sort of the 2000, 4 and 5 was a very hot time in Ireland, if you like. And then we hit the recession in 2008 here in Ireland, and we had a very, very bad crash, very, very bad. We had hoped for a soft landing, didn't happen. And I made the mistake, it was a big mistake. I got divorced during the recession. Michael, I tell you this, never get divorced during a recession. It's a bad thing. So my life went a bit crazy. We had a big house and a big debt, and my ex went back to the UK and became bankrupt there. And as a result, my divorce present, if you like, was that I myself and our 2 children got all the debt here because it just, he was out of it. And so I had this big house, a very, very large debt, and then this hard crash that was happening in the Irish market at that stage. And I wasn't quite sure what to do. And also my business was starting to fail a bit because the divorce was taking its toll and the recession was happening. It was all the perfect storm, actually. And so I moved out of the house with my 2 children into a little cottage, and we tried to rent out the big house, try to save money. And then the drug squad evicted my tenants in the house. It's a long litany of things that were happening. And so I couldn't rent it out again. It was in bad repair. So I made a video to sell it. And the video was a bit quirky, and the video went viral. And then I went a bit viral. So because at that stage, if your listeners may or may not be aware, in Ireland, when we, in the 2008, 2009, the crash was very hard. Because we had the Celtic Tiger, it was very, very painful. And we had a lot of people, were losing, they're being evictions were happening, and the banks were being very, very bullish. We also bailed out our banks, which was a crazy thing to do because a bank is a private entity, but the public purse bailed out the banks here in Ireland. So we had like 64 billions worth of debt, which is half the entire debt from the EU, but only 1% of the population. So it was a very bad time. And in the middle of all that, my video that I made, it went a bit viral, and so people started asking me questions, and I went a bit viral, which is very strange, I have to say. So I'm talking about, about losing everything, about, a business collapsing, about not being able to pay the mortgage, having to move out, and I kind of became the face of austerity in Ireland, if you like. And in the midst of all that, I got I became, I guess, politicized because the banks were saying things like moral hazard and debt forgiveness and a lot of, very big words. And a lot of people in Ireland, as a result, there was about 1 a day committing suicide from financial reasons. So it was horrendous, absolutely horrible, horrible time. So I began to rant and rave with it, saying that, excuse me, I've lost everything. It's very, very painful, but I'm not ashamed. I haven't committed a crime. And in the midst of all that, I got a cash offer to buy my house for 500,000 euros. Lovely, jubbly, but then it wasn't quite the same amount of the mortgage. So the banks refused consent to sell, and they repossessed the home, and they sold it for 165,000. Made no sense. Crazy stuff was happening. So at this stage, I was the first female banker under the new laws, and we brought in new laws. We reduced the penalty, I use that word with emphasis, for bankruptcy from 12 years down to 3 years. And the idea was that, in the UK it's only 1 year, and I know in America bankruptcy is seen, like most entrepreneurs, if they haven't failed several times, they're not true entrepreneurs, but in Ireland it was still seen as a very shameful thing, and we had inherited Victorian laws from the UK, and these laws said that if you were bankrupt, you weren't allowed to run for public office. Like you were some sort of criminality, you weren't fit enough to run for public office. So in the midst of all this stuff, I'm going, hang on, guys. This is where I start to fight back. So I brought the Irish government to the High Court, and I argued that my constitutional rights were being infringed and that I should be allowed to run for public office. And went all the way to the Supreme Court, and I was successful, and they changed the law. And then I had to run for public office. It was a bit strange. So it was the 2014 European elections were on. So I ran for public office. I ran for the European Parliament on an independent ticket. And I got 11,500 votes. I was very happy with that because I had no money, no nothing. And I didn't get elected, but it was a fantastic experience to actually run a political campaign, because prior to that, I've been doing all that sort of human interest stuff and sort of saying, hey guys, people should not be shamed for this. It happens. We're only a few paychecks away from bankruptcy and homelessness. And then being a political candidate, oh my God, they attack you so much. It's very, very tough, and it's a much harder thing. Wonderful experience. And then that's sort of my life went kind of, okay, that's over. And I don't know if have you ever run for politics, Michael?
No.
No. Do you know the gas? When you're running for something like that, everybody wants a piece of you. Everybody wants your opinion. You're so important. And then the minute that you're eliminated from the count, nobody wants to talk to you at all. It's the most funny feeling. You kind of go, oh, I'm nobody. So that was kind of crazy stuff in my life. And then I tried to get my life back together again. I had no money. I had no job. My business had collapsed. Bailiffs had called. I couldn't get work at that stage either, because just when you're in your 50s and you're a woman and you're self-employed and you're kind of high profile as a bankrupt, it's quite difficult to get work. And I don't know, I exited bankruptcy in 2016, and things were even worse. We've been evicted from our rented accommodation at that stage. I felt like Oscar Wilde, to lose one parent was unfortunate, to lose two smacks of carelessness. So when the second time being evicted, this is crazy. And they sent the TV cameras down because I was a bankrupt lady. And they said, has life changing now that you're exiting bankruptcy? I went, nope. If anything else is going to be worse, I'm going to be couch surfing, because we couldn't find accommodation. Ireland is lacking accommodation across all levels at the moment, huge homeless crisis. And I couldn't find anything for myself and my two girls. So I finally got them to the cottage, and I was going to be couch surfing in a friend's house. But then by fortune, I wrote an article in the Irish Times, and I said, I wrote, because I'm a freelance journalist as well. And the title was, well, actually, I didn't do the title. A subby did the title. The title went, I call it couch surfing, but really it's middle-class homelessness, which it was, because that's another, hidden amount of homelessness that was happening in Ireland. And anyway, a friend of mine read it, and I was offered a little cottage. So, bang. So my life sort of went a bit quiet then. Okay, right, I had a place to rent. My kids had places to rent. I was paying the bills, nothing huge. I was still driving a little Corsa, nothing crazy. And then, back in last September, I discovered blockchain. And oh my goodness, I went, I've just come home, Mama. This is just the most amazing, powerful, tremendous, exciting technology, and its applications are just going to be world-changing.
Well, Jillian, we've got about a minute left. I wanted to touch on running European Parliament and this pivoting into blockchain. But let's start with the Parliament. I mean, there was something going on there.
Well, that was huge. I mean, it was a great experience. I didn't get elected, as I say, but it was it's something that I've never thought I would do. I'm not a politician, but it was an amazing experience. I learned so much. I did an awful amount of television and radio, but it was quite aggressive. I mean, people were attacking you because once you're a political candidate, they want to know your opinion on everything, and they will challenge it on many different levels. So it was a great experience. I'd recommend it to anybody. And I didn't get elected. I'm profoundly grateful that I didn't get elected, because I don't want to be a politician, but I did enjoy the experience.
Well, we're going to have you back, and we can talk about your radio show, Dublin City FM. How about that?
Yeah, and I've a second radio show now starting, East Coast FM. So two of them, they're multiplying like mice or rabbits.
They will. All right, Jillian, thanks for being a guest. I'll talk to you really soon.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
You're welcome. Jillian Godsil, Crypto Diva, JillianGodsil.com, GillianGodsil.com. Tune in. Thanks for listening to CEO Money with Michael Yorba, segment brought to you by WFN1 News Corporation. We'll be back tomorrow with more great content just for you.
Thank you for listening to CEO Money.